For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization Summit continues today in Newport, Wales. One of the main topics has been Ukraine's ongoing internal conflict. NATO leaders with Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko have planned peace talks on Friday in Minsk. They hope those will yield a ceasefire with rebel factions. Both Poroshenko and senior leaders from the separatist groups have agreed to declare a truce if agreements are reached. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov promised practical steps to assist in a peaceful resolution to the Ukrainian conflict. He also suggested that the United States was attempting to impose its own agenda in the region through NATO.
Like many European countries, I am convinced that the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe wants the Ukrainian people to win in all its multinational unity. Some of our Western partners, including unfortunately the most influential player, the United States, want victory for NATO and a situation where America is dictating its own will to everyone. This concept of exclusivity, which President Barack Obama has repeatedly declared, can lead to no good and has so far led to no good.
NATO discussions also continue around the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. UK Prime Minister David Cameron says he will not join the United States in airstrikes on the Islamic State militant group until Iraq's new government is finalized. However, Britain is likely to provide military equipment to the country's Kurdish army that is fighting the Islamic State in the north of the country. On the streets of Newport, up to 700 protesters outside the summit have begun demonstrations denouncing NATO. Some say that rather than a peacekeeping body, NATO is expansionist and aggressive in its approach to world politics. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Russian leaders were assured that NATO would not absorb its former territories, but many Eastern European countries are now members. The current summit has included talks on Georgian and Ukrainian membership. In Latin America today, the Argentinian Senate has approved a sovereign debt law which aims to sidestep a ruling in favor of vulture fund creditors. Argentina has agreed to pay its debts to U.S. hedge fund companies, but want to do so via its own banks and not on the terms of those in the United States. This was ruled unlawful by U.S. Judge Thomas Griesa, a decision that the Southern Cone Nation has said it will take to the International Court of Justice. Members of Honduras's Popular Resistance Front are on alert following the assassination of Campesino leader Margarito Murillo last week. Our Honduran correspondent Gerardo Torres spoke today with former President Manuel Zelaya about the current level of fear, repression, and impunity in the country.
Last week, Campesino leader Margarita Murillo was murdered by 3 heavily armed men while she was working her land in Villanueva in the north region of the country. Her assassination is one of the latest in a long string of murders against members of the Honduran Resistance Front. Former Honduran President Manuel Zelaya is one of the principal leaders of the resistance. He confirms that since 2009 coup d'etat, which took him out of office, the political repression and persecution against members of the resistance has only increased.
La muerte de Margarita Murillo, una dirigente campesina, the
death of Margarita Murillo, a campesino and workers' leader and a coordinator of the resistance in the Libre Party, is a crime that we empathetically condemn because it touches the most intimate fiber of all the Honduran people. With her murder, more than 300 assassination-resistant members have been assassinated. In 5 years, 36 journalists have been killed, as have 80 lawyers, and more than 73 campesino leaders, and more than 1,500 reports of human rights violations that still have yet to be investigated.
Donde más de 1,500 denuncias que han habido de violaciones a los derechos humanos todavía no han sido investigadas en Honduras.
Unfortunately, the impunity for those who have committed these crimes has been systematic. None of the accused of human rights violation have been taken to trial, and military and police officers have a general amnesty given by Porfirio Lobo's government 2 years ago. The crimes have been denounced in countless national and international organizations, but little has been done to stop the murders and the repression.
Las denuncias que se hacen a nivel internacional,
the crimes that have been denounced at the international level and the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights and international organizations are completely worthless because they continue to murder human rights defenders like Margarita Murillo.
Despite the impunity and the repression, members of the Resistance Front continue to organize. but particularly after the recent murder of Margarita Murillo, they know that there is still a long way to overcome the consequences of the 2009 coup. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
And thanks to Gerardo. As life in Gaza slowly returns to normal after the 50-day attack on the Palestinian region, there have been reports that Israel has violated the ceasefire. Our correspondent Noor Harazin has the latest.
It is over a week since the Palestinians and Israeli agreed on a month-long ceasefire, and after 2 days of reporting Israeli violations on the Palestinian fishermen, such as arresting fishermen or opening fire at fishermen, today was such a calm, peaceful day. No violations were reported from any side, not from the Israeli side or from the Palestinian militant groups. There was also today a press release, a press statement by the Ministry of Health in the Gaza Strip. They said in this release that the Israeli forces targeted 36 of Gaza's ambulances. 6 of them were totally destroyed during the ground invasion on the Gaza Strip. They also said in that statement that over 35% of Gaza's casualties, the people who were killed, are women, children and elderlies.
Fast food workers in the United States continue protesting today in more than 150 cities across the country, demanding the right to unionize and salary increases. Workers from McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and KFC restaurants left their jobs. Accompanied by home care workers, have highlighted issues with the federal minimum wage, which has not risen from $7.25 since 2009. Protesters say this is not a living wage, even when working a 40-hour week. How and where experimental Ebola treatment should be used is on the agenda at a World Health Organization meeting in Geneva today. A clearer action plan to tackle the highly contagious virus, which has killed 1,900 people in West Africa so far, including the expedition of clinical trials for experimental drugs, will be announced Friday. This follows the United Nations decision Wednesday to send $600 million in supplies to the affected African nations. In football today, one of Brazil's top teams is being fined and banned from the main cup competition for racism among fans. The country's Sports Justice Tribunal announced Wednesday that Grêmio Football Club will be fined $20,000 as well as being banned from the country's main cup competition. It comes after its fans use insulting chants and monkey noises towards the goalie of visiting club Santos at the end of August. It is the second fine for racism in the last year for this club. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Wetta. We'll see you back here this evening.